One of the parts of restoration that you need to address is the instrumentation that goes back into the dashboard. If your vehicle is like mine, the instrumentation was very weathered, and here's a couple of the warning lights, the ignition and oil lights. The plastic surrounds just seems to have weathered almost away on that case, and certainly gone discoloured in that one. I could try and find new ones. I've tried and I can't, but the fact that these can actually undo, I can just take that section out, there it is there, means that I can remake it. Now I've actually done that. I've remade these out of Delrin, which is a nylon bar, turned it up in the lathe, and there's the finished product. It's a lot different from the way these look, and certainly from the way that looks. Maybe not identical to the original, but good enough to go on the dash, and certainly more presentable than the ones I had. What I've also been looking at is the switch gear. I've got two switches here. This is the lighting switch. It sounds like it's got rubbish inside it. Also the chrome surround is very weathered, and I need to get that re-chromed. You can pull these apart. There's a tab in that side, there's a tab in that side. Just pull those tabs out and turn that, and then this will come out. You also need to undo the little nut on the back there, which has got a bit of solder on it to stop it from undoing, and that actually holds the locking tumbler in place. So here's the one I've taken off, turned that round, pulled that out. That will now be set away for re-chroming. I will now look at the internals of the switch, make sure it's working properly, which this one is. Just need to clean it out and put a bit more lubrication in it. Also gives me the opportunity to look at the condition of the actual switch lever and to refurbish that. Now this one was in that condition. All I've done is apply a little bit of metal polish and to clean it up and repolish it. I've done the same with the starter switch, just very quickly. Once again, it's gone from that to that colour. I've done the same with the throttle cable. I've done the same with the mixture cable, and just to show that I just didn't go and get some good ones. Here's the condition it was in, and I'll just show you what you do very quickly. These ones haven't been finished. I need to spend a lot more time getting the desired finish I want, but I'll just show you very quickly how it can be done. Won't take long. Just polish up the front there. So a little bit of elbow grease doesn't hurt. And there, you can see the front of that switch, you can see the side is still weathered. Okay, I'll just apply a little bit on that. Now obviously I'll spend more time doing this, but this is just for the purpose of the record, to show that it can be done, and I'm just not making this up. You can clean these up, you can make a reasonable job out of it. Will it be Consort? Well, maybe not, but if you're after Consort, well, maybe you need to spend a lot more time sourcing newer parts, or in some cases maybe you've got to get them remade. I certainly don't intend to do that. I prefer to refurbish things if I can. I get a lot of satisfaction out of taking something that looked pretty daggy and making it look almost new. In some cases, pretty close to new. So there, it's a lot better. I could spend a lot more time on that, and I will. Before I consider putting it back in the car, I'll spend more time applying this polish. and then I'll apply an automatic wax to seal that off. It certainly shows you what you can do with any of the plastics or Bakelite, whatever this may have been, to make them look far more presentable when they go back in the car. So that one thing doesn't laugh at another when you put it together. You need to address all these things as you go through.
Now the plastic bezels on the warning lights, the ignition and oil lights, were basically damaged beyond repair. They seem to have been cooked by the elements, so there's no way I could actually replace them or restore them, sorry, so I've decided to replace them. What I've done is I've purchased a bar of what they call Delrin on the internet. The reason I purchased this is that it's white and also it's capable of being turned down in the lathe. So I bought that and then turned down new bezels in the lathe. Not quite the design of the original, but very close. You can see there they're quite acceptable. They're nice and white, a lot better than the originals that I had to play with. So they've all now been replaced. So that was actually not too hard to do. They're now ready to be put in the dash when I complete the dash work. With the plastic parts, I have been polishing them up with metal polish. That's worked okay with the smaller parts in terms of knobs on the dashboard and so on. What I've got here is the cover for the regulator. Quite weathered, quite dirty. A little bit of rust on the fuse holder. This is the lid of the fuse holder. Once again, quite weathered. I don't like putting things back in the cars like that, so what I've decided to do is to actually just clean them up. And what I have done, this is actually a spare off one of my other cars. This is what the cover looked like on the 49. Now what I've done with that is to rub it back with very fine emery paper, about 600 to 800 wet, just to clean off the oxidization. I started to polish it with metal polish, but it didn't seem to come up all that well. So what I did is to use my buffing oil and put fine buffing compound on the wheel, and after cleaning that up with wet emery, I then buffed it. Now that's the result of a good buffing. And what you can see is that it's got its shine back. The colour's not too bad. May not be as original, but certainly very presentable. That'll be good enough to go back in the car. I was concerned about whether the writing on here would be seen, but it can still be seen okay. I was thinking about filling that in with white paint, but I think it's okay as it is. Once again, buffing has brought it up. I can probably buff that a little bit more. I'll cover it with wax to seal it, but it's come up quite okay. Now you can see the difference there. Now with this, I thought the fuse cover was, it's got sort of white marks all over this, and it looks quite disgusting. Now, I cleaned one of these, the one off the 49, up with wet emery again. Still couldn't get rid of these marks, and I thought, well, maybe that's damaged and weathered into the bakelite plastic. But when I put it on the buffing wheel, I was actually surprised the way it came up. Those marks are actually in the bakelite. It's given a very interesting texture the way it's come up. So I'm actually quite pleased with that. Once again, that'll be good enough to go back in the car. Much better than the way it looked originally. So it's worth spending a little bit of time and experimenting as to how you can improve the look of some of these components. Now, I know it's only under the dashboard, but under the bonnet, but all the same, you might as well spend a bit of time and clean it up.